Howdy, Marijuana Nation. Just a quick announcement before we launch into the news today. Unfortunately, we will not have a show tomorrow, Thursday the 17th, because I need to bring my car in to get worked on. That sounds kind of silly, but with the realities of the coronavirus and my personal daily habits, it's kind of complicated now to get to the mechanics. I'm taking full advantage of the privilege that I have in being able to maintain a strict quarantine. So I avoid public transportation and things like Uber. And I just found out that my bike is not working and needs to go to the bike shop. So I'm going to be skateboarding the 5 miles or so each way to drop my car off and then to pick it back up. So long story short, I just don't have time to produce a show tomorrow. So no show tomorrow. We're also not producing a show on Friday because that day is June 19th or Juneteenth, the day that marks the day that slaves in Texas were finally told that they'd been set free by the federal government back in the 1800s. 2.5 years after the reading of the Emancipation Proclamation, and a couple months after the loser Confederate Army gave up its traitorous fight in the Civil War. Juneteenth should be a federal holiday, and it hopefully will be soon, but in the meantime, we'll be treating it as one here at MJ Today Media, and we generally do not publish on federal holidays. So we'll be back with a news podcast on Tuesday, and on Monday, we'll have a great episode of our podcast Weed Wonks here on the daily feed. So enjoy your weekend. This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our exclusive multi-state cannabis operator sponsor, Curaleaf, one of the nation's top vertically integrated medical and wellness cannabis operators, with 57 local dispensaries, 15 cultivation sites, and 24 processing facilities operating in 17 states. You can learn more about Curaleaf over at curaleaf.com, with Curaleaf spelled Curaleaf. That's curaleaf.com. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Wednesday, June 17th, 2020, and you're tuned in to episode 953 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. We start off today's news with a chart from Marijuana Business Daily, where Eli McVeigh has pulled together the sales figures from January through May for 5 legal marijuana states: California, Colorado, Nevada, Oregon, and Washington. The chart shows a bit of a mixed bag, as California and Colorado have seen depressed sales that are still up over last year's levels, whereas Nevada has seen its adult use industry crater thanks to the city's near complete reliance on tourism. On the other hand, Oregon and Washington State have seen fairly steady, albeit smaller, rises in their sales figures for each month. This is a vital storyline to be well on top of, so I would make sure you read this one in full today. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com. Kyle Yeager over Marijuana Moment has our second headline on the day, with a look at a Library of Congress project that documents the racist history of marijuana prohibition, showing historic media clips where headlines and stories screamed sensationalist and racist messages about the evils of marijuana. The historical entwinement between marijuana and general drug prohibition and systemic racism is long and well documented, and this is another story that you need to read. Read this one, share this one, and never forget this storyline. Wrapping up today's top stories is Mr. John Schroyer at Marijuana Business Daily, with a look at the recovery process that a number of marijuana dispensaries are currently going through following their looting and destruction during the early days of the George Floyd protests. Included in those ranks is our friend Chris Crane, a founding regular and host on our weekly show Marijuana Today, and the president of multi-state cannabis operator Forefront, which had its Chicago dispensary hit. Besides that, cannabis dispensaries in Boston, Berkeley, Philadelphia, and Oakland were also ransacked, leaving a lot of dispensary owners with tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages, not all of which is covered by insurance. This is another important storyline that we all need to be aware of. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz sudden headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, Curaleaf, one of the nation's top multi-state cannabis operators with 57 local dispensaries, 15 cultivation sites, and 24 processing facilities operating in 17 states. Curaleaf continues to operate in all the states that it has dispensaries in and has adjusted up their operations to cut down on the chance of viral transmission as much as possible. Everyone at Curaleaf is dedicated to keeping their customers, patients, and employees happy and healthy, and you can find a state-by-state listing of the measures being taken over at curaleaf.com. From curbside delivery to special queuing systems that let you wait in your car, Curaleaf is exploring all the options. One more time, you can pop over to curaleaf.com today with Curaleaf spelled CURALEAF to get details on all the measures being taken, as well as to learn more about the Veterans Cannabis Project, which works to expand medical marijuana access for military veteran patients. You can dive into more on that project over at vetscp.org. Big thanks to everyone at Curaleaf for the support that helps us keep the news lights on. All right, time for the Blitz. Turning up to Canada, we have Steve Dobler, founder and president of licensed provider Aurora Cannabis, announcing that he was retiring from his position as of June 30th. Mr. Dobler started up Aurora Cannabis with Terry Booth back in 2013. Speaking of Aurora Cannabis, we have Motley publishing over at Nasdaq, taking a detailed look at the $80 million loss that Aurora Cannabis realized as part of a failed investment in alcohol chain Alcanna, which came about back in 2018. The partnership was pitched as being, quote, transformational in scale and scope, unquote, by Aurora CEO Terry Booth, but in the years since, mostly has fizzled out due to a number of factors. This is a good story to read in full if you want to fully understand the Canadian scene. It's also probably a decent lesson in general in partnership making, so add this one to your list to read today. We have a pair of financial results to report on with Deborah Borchard over at Green Market Report, picking up first on Vireo Health, which reported revenue for the quarter ending in March of $12.1 million, up 34% from the previous quarter and 110% from the same quarter last year. That was atop a net loss of $2 million and an adjusted net loss of $8.1 million, up from the $4.8 million the company saw as an adjusted net loss last year. Vireo said it has just under $12 million in cash on hand and just $7 million in liabilities, none of which are due in the next 12 months. Pop over to Green Market Report for more here if you need it. Canadian cannabis company Fire & Flower is up next with some financials as they dropped their first quarter 2020 results, with total revenues up 142% over last year to land at $23.1 million. For its efforts, Fire & Flower had a loss of $9.6 million and a net loss of $12.7 million. Again, if you need more on this, you can swing over to New Cannabis Ventures. The United Nations Commissions on Narcotics Drugs Secretariat is scheduled to meet next week to discuss a number of cannabis-related items, including the possible rescheduling of marijuana and marijuana-derived products like concentrates and extracts. The closed-door meetings will be held on June 24th and 25th and will also include discussions about CBD. Marijuana Moments takes us out on our day today with the bottom two headlines. Kyle Yeager starts off the moments with a story covering a recent court decision made in Ohio against marijuana reform activists who want to be able to collect signatures of support for a decriminalization ballot measure electronically. Yesterday, a federal appeals court ruled against the activists who now say they'll be pursuing justice at the Supreme Court level with an appeal. Tom Angel takes us out on the week with a jump to Louisiana, where Governor John Bel Edwards just signed a bill into law that removes the list of qualifying conditions for medical cannabis, instead allowing doctors to recommend medical marijuana to patients for any condition they deem fit. The legislation, which we covered a few times while it was being worked on by state lawmakers, also extends some protections to banks and financial institutions from being prosecuted by state officials for serving legal cannabis businesses. The new provisions eliminating qualifying conditions in Louisiana go into effect on August 1st. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again Tuesday morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Cureleaf, and to our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today. Today.
One take, Shay. One take.